Spurs ended the season with a 4-1 defeat to Brighton, making it 22 losses in the league, their worst Premier League finish ever to boot, as well as they ended up in 17th. When asked to assess it all, Big Ange said, "How do I assess it? Outstanding." It's not the first outlandish thing that Ange has said since winning the Europa League. Here's him speaking at the trophy parade.
And I'll tell you something, I'll leave you with this. All the best television series, season 3 is better than season 2.
I'll tell you what, if you're a wordsmith, so too is Ange Postecoglou, because that is the one way to get the crowd on your side, to big up the next season. Do you think that season 3 can be better than season 2?
I think Spurs fans will hope so, but I think, yes, outstanding achievement winning Europa League, but a lot of Spurs fans, when the dust settles, will think, you know what, we lost 22 Premier League games, we finished with 38 points, we finished one place above the relegation zone in 17th position. It's not good enough.
No.
Natalie, and I think he'll keep his job. I think he'll be trusted with funds, but if they start the season, first 10 games of the Premier League season, and they continue this bad form in the league, he will be gone. If I'm Daniel Levy, I'm already thinking of replacements ready, because Spurs don't want to waste this opportunity. Stay on top. You won the Europa League, you're in the Champions League, get the right players in the summer, and stay up there. Why can't Spurs go next season and say, let's have a good go in the Champions League, let's try and break into the top 5 next season?
Yeah.
So he's under a lot of pressure next season, Ange.
It sort of feels we're in this, and a lot of people have said this already, but that Eric Ten Hag moment when Manchester United, they won that FA Cup last season, and we were in that sort of vague period for a little while where we didn't know what was going to happen. There was no clarity on Ten Hag's future, and that seems to be the same for Ange Postecoglou. Daniel Levy hasn't said anything, I think, in his post-season message, from what I was reading. Prior to that game against Brighton, Ange Postecoglou then sort of clarified or slightly changed his tune when it came to season 3 is going to be better than season 2, because he said sometimes they kill off the main character. Now, I don't know if that's because he's had a conversation with Daniel Levy where he might be thinking, I'm not as secure as I thought I was a few days ago.
Of course, we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen Di Matteo.
Yeah.
Won the Champions League, lost his job. We've seen it happen with bigger managers than Ange Postecoglou. But I just think Spurs, they need to make some big decisions as well. Is Richarlison the future of Spurs? Will you send Tal back to Bayern Munich? Is Ben Davies good enough to continue? Werner, are you going to make that permanent? Are you going to send him back? Odegaard, is he good enough? They need another striker. But what I would like to see, and he's done it in the latter stages of the Europa League, against Frankfurt, he did it as well. Change the way you play.
Yeah.
Manchester United were probably shocked of like, oh, they can sit in. They can play on the counter-attack. You've got the players. Next season, certain games, okay, Johnson, Solanke on the counter-attack. If it's Odegaard playing in there as well, your fullbacks are quick. Change the way you play to certain games, and Spurs will have a lot better season next season.
When you talk about on the counter, one player you didn't mention was Son, who we know is also... I was going to ask, though, do you think he's up to it?
No.
Still? Okay.
That's why I didn't mention him. And for the last 10 seasons, I would have when I'm explaining the counter-attack. Because even when he come on in the final, every time he counter-attacked, he got tackled. He got caught up with. He's not the same Son that has been at Spurs all of these years. He's been a great servant to the club. But look at De Bruyne. De Bruyne's leaving. Yeah. Sometimes when your time is right to go, you go. You run the Europa League now. Is it time for Son to go? Or is it because of how much he brings in? Shirt sales.
Well, there is that.
Fans.
Yeah.
So maybe he will stay, but I don't see the next season of Son having a lot of game time.
Okay. Like inevitably, any team going into another competition like the Champions League, you have to have incomings. You've got to strengthen your team. You've got to have that strength and depth. You know, Villas tried but didn't still have the numbers to really compete on all fronts, even though they did brilliantly this season in the Champions League. So we'll expect, and let's not forget, getting the Champions League is such an enticement for players, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Players want to play in the Champions League. That's why I'm confused with Konya going to Manchester United. That must be money involved, the wages that you won't get anywhere else, because why would you join Manchester United at the moment? It's not a club on the up. No European football next season. So very strange from Konya.
So even though Spurs have had as awful a Premier League campaign it wouldn't matter to you. If you were looking at it right now as a project, you'd be like, oh, well, I want to play in the Champions League regardless.
Playing in the Champions League, London-based.
Yeah.
So I mean, a manager who does play attacking football, they should go into the market now. And I said about Ben Davies, they've got Van der Ven, Romero. Romero might be leaving. Talk about Atletico Madrid. Danso, decent defender, but you get tested in that Champions League. Injuries. You need a stronger 2 centre-halves to come in. Striker, you can't be left with just Solanke. Richarlison's not good enough for where Spurs want to go. So he's got big decisions of players you might have to sell or let go and bring in better players so you do have a decent chance in the Champions League.
Yeah, interesting summer ahead. As we were saying, we're still none the wiser as to what will happen with Ange Postecoglou, but we certainly understand here at talkSPORT that Tottenham are unlikely to make an announcement on his future before he goes away on holiday tomorrow. They want to send him off on... Weirdly, though, you sort of think, well, if you want him to stay, then you announce it before his holiday, so he goes on holiday and has a lovely time and doesn't have to worry about it. And then there's a part of you that thinks, are you not telling because you don't want to ruin his holiday?
Yeah, but you know what else, Natalie? I think Eddie Howe apparently had meetings yesterday after the game with the owners of Newcastle to talk about transfers for next season.
Yes.
Because they don't want to hang around and miss out on players. Liverpool doing their work quickly.
Yeah.
Spurs should be like, Ange is going to be our manager. Let's get to work. Whilst you're away on holiday, think about the players you want to bring in. Let's get the ball, ball running.
I'm with you.
Don't wait.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
I hear you, absolutely. Has it been outstanding this season?
I wouldn't say outstanding, but you can say it's been successful because winning a trophy, it's been so long for the club to win, especially a European trophy. And their fans can't be called Spursy anymore. You know, it means a lot to the fans that Spursy tag is out the window now.
Yeah. Very, very much so. Well, let's get more on the success of Spurs this season by winning that Europa League. A man who's been right in the middle of it all when it comes to those celebrations. It's a very good morning to Tottenham MC, Paul Coy. Paul, how are you?
Good morning, Paul.
I'm great. Hello, guys. It's great to see you. By the way, I don't think Ange saw season 3 of Fargo.
Oh.
That wasn't a good one.
Is that one that we should
apart
miss?
from Fargo... He's absolutely right. Yeah,
yeah, we've had a few people messaging in this morning saying what season 3 things you shouldn't be watching. But then we've also had programmes that you should watch, like someone mentioned Game of Thrones, which had the Red Wedding in season 3, which was brutal, if that's the case. But yeah,
more of a red funeral that we had on Wednesday than a red wedding. But yeah, I get that one. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But let's talk about the good things, shall we, Paul?
Let's do
the
that.
Negatives.
Let's do that. That would be great.
I mean, tell us about the celebrations. Tell us about the parade, because you've been there and amongst it all. What's it been like?
It's been crazy. I think it probably still, my throat is still a bit like this, and it's like recover and then another one, and so
I thought you were just doing
from Bilbao. Hey, how you doing? So Bilbao was amazing. So there was me, and and Alan Keegan, who does the same job for me in Manchester United at the stadium. It was quite funny because although we were very friendly, you can imagine how it's going to be because we've got to sit next to each other. He probably wanted to be with the United fans, and I wanted to be with the Spurs fans. So it was agreed. So it's the way UEFA do it, and they say there's this protocol when you announce the goal. So you've got to say goal 2 and then you say who it is and you have to read it off there. So anyway, when Spurs score, I've just gone absolutely bananas. I've looked over to him and gone, sorry, Alan. So it was mad. And then at the end, and as you can imagine, and football means, it just shows how much it means to everybody. And it even surprised me, and I know there's a lot of fans of probably about my age that have seen some great stuff a long time ago and nothing for a long while. I just burst into tears, Natalie. I was just, I didn't realise where I was sitting, and I thought, I didn't know it. And I was like, burst into tears. I thought, I've got to move away from where I am. Leant down, and that's where all the Spurs fans were. So they're looking up at me and waving. And it was like, I think it must have felt like they were thinking, is it raining? Because I'm leaning over here, tears coming down. And it was just the most fantastic day. And if anybody else, and you know what anybody says about Spurs fans deserve this. You know, we really deserve to have some success. And it showed by the amount of people that went out to Bilbao. They went by train, they went by plane, they went by a horse, they walked. There were people that I know that sat on coaches for like 28 hours without moving. And the fan part, we had like 25,000 people there. And then back for the parade. I know that's what you asked me. I'm sorry, I'm going off on one. But the parade was just like nothing I've ever experienced. And it was, and then we had the players then come on. And Gabby, I mean, you probably could have advised me a bit more about this, but I was more under the impression that the players would come up, they'd all stand there, and then I could say, right, Sonny, I'm going to have a word with you. Ange, I'm going to have a word with you.
You expecting them to be civilised?
A 20-year-old, 20-something millionaires who probably don't drink very often. It was carnage up there. Yeah. So people said, oh, did you enjoy it? I said, it was great, but it was really hard work. Someone's nicked the microphone, I've got to pull it back. But it was joyous, and that's what I wanted it to be. It was totally joyous.
Well, Paul, how big is that as well? Because I'm with you, it's so big for Spurs fans. I know quite a few of them, and everyone likes to use that Spursy tag and have a bit of banter about the club, and that tag's out the window now. And how important is it now that they go win another trophy next season? You know, have the hunger to go and do it each season.
Well, Spurs players have done this. I don't think it's any secret. They've spoken to managers before. I remember Pochettino had some people like Steve Perryman and Glenn went in and discussed it, and they've all said the same thing to me, and I know they've said the same thing to the hierarchy as well. And it's that thing in football, and it's for those that, you know, those of us that don't play, that don't truly understand it, although you hear it a lot, and that's once you need to win one. Yep. And once you've won a trophy, then you know how to get over the line, and it makes a difference, you know? And that's what everybody seems to be saying. So maybe, you know, fingers crossed that this is going to be the point where more silverware does come, because it takes that first one for the others to come.
100%.
And as we were saying there, and we heard there from Ange Postecoglou, he's hoping for a better season 3 than season 2. What was he like? Was he emotional? What's he like behind the scenes?
It's a tricky one. It's whether many people truly know him, I don't know. I mean, I've had some experiences, and there's something. He's a man that has aura. There's no question about that. You feel it when you meet him. And there was a couple of situations. I remember once, and the first 2 times, I met him once when he first came, and he was very nice, and we had a little chat about football in the old days. Then when we lost to Manchester City in the FA Cup last season, he was walking out of the tunnel, and we'd spoken before, and I thought he was about to shake hands with me, and I put my hand out. I missed. He was looking elsewhere.
Oh, no.
I grabbed his wrist, and the worst thing about this is that, because I started getting texts going, that was embarrassing. It was on ITV Live, and they saw the backup, and it was anyway. So then, about 2 weeks later, we had an event at the stadium, and it was for all sponsors. There was probably 150, 200 people there, and they wanted me to interview Ange in front of everybody. I thought, okay, that's going to be great. So Ange walks in, and I'm in the room, and then I hear music playing, and I'm thinking, I can't believe this. There's music being piped through this room. That's ridiculous. And I'm thinking, what is this music? It's coming from somewhere. And it was at that point I thought, oh my God, this is coming from my phone in my pocket for some reason, and it's music I'd never heard, and I don't know whether it had come off my watch. Anyway, and I've thought, there's something about Ange that usually I'd just make a joke about it, and I'm thinking, I've got to deal with this. I put my hand in my pocket, I'm trying to turn the thing down, it starts getting louder, and then he looks at me and says, mate, I think you want to turn your phone off. You know, and I just so me and Ange, I've tried, but anyway, but he's always been fine after that.
I think he makes you nervous.
He does.
Yeah, that's what it's coming across.
It's always with you, Natalie. I always felt the same way with you.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Oh, it's so lovely to see you again, Paul.
It's lovely to speak to you guys.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, mate.
Enjoy the celebrations. Up the Spurs.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.